Have you ever felt that tightness in your chest that seems inexplicable? That invisible weight that no one sees, but that you carry every day? Your anxiety is not weakness, it's where God finds you. What if I told you that in that very moment of silent despair, when anxiety seems to win, there's a sacred encounter waiting for you? Stay until the end, because I'm going to show you something that can completely transform the way you see your pain. There's a kind of silence that doesn't bring peace, it screams. It's that moment when everyone else is asleep, but your mind won't rest. Thoughts race in circles, your heart races for no apparent reason, and you ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Anxiety has this peculiar characteristic. It doesn't need a reason to exist. It's simply there, like a shadow that follows you even on the sunniest days. And the worst part? You try to explain it to others, but the words won't come out. How can you describe an emptiness that weighs so heavily? But here's something few people tell you. God understands your anxiety. He doesn't need you to find the right words, because He hears what your heart silently cries out. When anxiety seems to win, and you feel alone in this battle, know that there are loving eyes watching every tear that falls on your pillow at night. God doesn't turn away from your pain. He draws near to it. And it's precisely where you feel weakest that He wants to reveal His strength. Do you know that feeling of being in a room full of people but feeling completely isolated? Anxiety has the power to build invisible walls around us. It whispers lies. Nobody understands you. You're alone in this. This will never pass. But what if those walls were just the thick shell that God needs to break through to reach your heart? What if anxiety wasn't the end of the story, but the beginning of a profound encounter with God's presence amidst fear? Today, while the world tells you to be strong, to hide what you feel, to pretend everything is all right, I want to invite you to do the opposite. Bring your anxiety into the light. Acknowledge the silence that screams inside you. Because when you stop fighting alone and make room for God to enter the mess of your mind, something extraordinary begins to happen. What if the place of your greatest weakness was exactly where God is waiting to show you that He has never abandoned you? There are days when you wake up and feel like the ground has disappeared from under your feet, right? Anxiety doesn't warn you when it's coming. It simply invades. Suddenly, that meeting at work turns into an impossible test. A simple conversation with someone becomes a minefield of worries. And tomorrow seems like a storm forming on the horizon, and you don't know if you'll be able to weather it. That's how it works. Faith and emotional health are in a constant tug of war, and you find yourself in the middle trying to balance what seems impossible to sustain. Have you ever found yourself obsessively planning every detail of the future, trying to control even the uncontrollable? Or perhaps freezing in fear before simple decisions, because any choice seems to lead to disaster? Anxiety steals your peace, but it also steals something more precious, your confidence. It makes you doubt yourself, your worth, even your faith. And deep down, that painful question arises: does God still care about me? Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Elijah, a powerful prophet who had witnessed incredible miracles performed through his own hands. He saw fire descend from heaven. He saw God answer his prayers in amazing ways. But after a great spiritual victory, something unexpected happened. A queen named Jezebel threatened to kill him, and Elijah panicked. He fled to the desert, sat under a tree, and asked to die. Yes, the same man who had just witnessed the power of God was now consumed by fear and emotional exhaustion. He said, "It is enough, Lord. Take my life." Sound familiar? Even the most faithful have moments when anxiety overwhelms them. But here's what's beautiful. God didn't rebuke Elijah. He didn't say, "Where is your faith?" or "How dare you be afraid after all I've done?" No, God sent an angel to feed him, let him rest, and then spoke to him in a still, calm voice. God met Elijah exactly where he was, broken, exhausted, anxious, and that's exactly what He does with you. Dealing with anxiety with faith doesn't mean pretending it doesn't exist. It means bringing it to God, even when you feel too weak to pray. The truth is, there's no shame in feeling like you're losing control. Shame doesn't come from God. What He wants you to know is this: when your hands can no longer hold the pieces of your life together, His hands are ready to hold you. There is hope in God during times of anxiety, not an empty hope, but a real anchor that keeps you steady when everything around you is shaking. Because perhaps the moment when you feel God is most distant is precisely the moment when He is closest to you. Now pay attention to this, because what I'm about to tell you could change everything. We grow up thinking that God only appears when everything is organized, when our faith is strong, when we manage to put together the right words for a beautiful prayer. But the biblical truth is completely different. God finds you in pain. He doesn't wait for you to clean up the mess first. In fact, it is precisely in chaos, in confusion, in the silent despair of anxiety that He enters with greater intensity. Do you know why? Because it is there that you finally stop pretending that you can do it alone. Consider Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. This is not a conditional promise. It doesn't say, God will be near if you are strong enough, or if you pray correctly, or if your faith is perfect. It simply says, He is near, now, in your moment of broken heart, in your spirit weighed down by anxiety. That is where He encamps, that is where He makes His dwelling. So when anxiety grips you, and you feel that lump in your throat, that weight on your chest, that mind that won't stop, understand this. You are not being punished. You are not being abandoned. You are in a sacred place. God calms the anxious heart not from afar, not with judgment, but by entering into the midst of the emotional storm and saying, "Peace, be still." Just as He did with the disciples in the boat amidst the storm, He does with the storm raging within you. And here's something that might sound strange, but it's liberating. God's presence in the midst of fear is more real than in moments of joy. Because when everything is going well, it's easy to forget that we need Him. But in anxiety, in raw vulnerability, without masks, without defenses, that's where the encounter truly happens. That's where you stop being religious and start being real with God. And He loves that. He prefers your broken honesty to your religious performance. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." See, it's not, "I will strengthen you if you stop being afraid." It's, "Fear not," followed by, "For I am with you." God isn't asking you to feign courage. He's saying that His presence is the reason you don't need to pretend anymore. So maybe, just maybe, your anxiety isn't the place where God has abandoned you, but the place where He has finally gained your undivided attention. What are you trying to carry alone? This is a serious question, because we carry so much that was never meant for us to carry. We carry the expectations of others. We carry fears about the future. We carry guilt from the past. We carry the illusion that we need to have everything under control, that we need to be strong all the time. And in the process, we forget a fundamental truth. Surrendering anxiety into God's hands is not giving up. It's trusting. It's recognizing that some battles are not yours to fight, they are His. Jesus said something revolutionary in Matthew 11:28-30. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Do you see the invitation? He didn't say be stronger or hold on. He said, "Come, bring your weariness, bring your weight, bring your anxiety, and I will give you rest." There is spiritual surrender in moments of anxiety, and it is not weakness, it is wisdom. Look, before we continue, let me take a quick break here. If this message is touching your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This helps this content reach more people who, like you, need to hear that they are not alone in the fight against anxiety. and activate the notification bell, because every week there's a new message to strengthen your faith. Okay? Let's continue. The truth that sets you free is this: anxiety is not a lack of faith. Read that again. Anxiety is not a lack of faith. You can love God deeply and still struggle with anxious thoughts. You can pray every day and still feel that tightness in your chest. That doesn't make you any less Christian, any less spiritual, any less loved by God. It makes you human. And God is neither surprised nor disappointed by your humanity. He embraces it. What He wants is for you to stop fighting alone. You know that endless list of worries you mentally review every day? That fear of the future that paralyzes you? That anxiety about what others think of you? God is saying, give me that. You weren't made to carry that weight. I was. Learning to rest in God doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with a simple decision: letting go. Because perhaps you are so busy holding on tightly that you haven't yet realized that your hands are trembling, and God's hands are open, waiting for you to trust enough to let go. Have you ever tried to pray, but the words just wouldn't come out? Relax. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is the one you can't even speak. Romans 8:26 says, "The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words." This means that even when all you can do is take a deep breath and whisper, "God, help me," that's enough. Prayer to relieve anxiety doesn't need to be eloquent. It just needs to be honest. But here's what happens when you begin to transform your anxiety into prayer. You stop feeding the thoughts that destroy you and begin to nurture the connection with the one who can restore you. Every time that anxious thought comes, and it will come, you have a choice. You can ruminate on it, let it grow, give it free rein, or you can interrupt it with a simple prayer. "Father, I place this in your hands." Sounds too simple? It is, but it works. Prayer isn't a magic formula that makes all problems disappear, but it does something even deeper. It reconnects you with the source of peace. Philippians 4:6-7 teaches, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Do you see the promise? The peace that surpasses understanding, that peace that doesn't make logical sense, but calms the inner storm. When prayer becomes a breath of fresh air, every anxious moment becomes an opportunity to return home. Home isn't a physical place, it's the presence of God. And every time you pray, even if it's just a sigh, you're saying, "I can't, but I know who can." That's faith that overcomes anxiety. Not a faith that denies what you feel, but a faith that knows who to run to when you feel it. So today, right now, as you listen to this, take a deep breath and transform that breath into a prayer. It doesn't need to be beautiful. It doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be real. Say, "God, I'm anxious. I'm tired. I need you." And let that simple act of honesty be the beginning of your healing. Because prayer isn't about having the right words, it's about having an open heart for the right God. Do you know what's most frightening for someone who suffers from anxiety? The silence. Because in silence, thoughts scream louder. In silence, worries echo. That's why we run away. We turn on the TV, grab our phones, put on music, anything to fill the void. But there's a different kind of silence that doesn't frighten us. It's the silence where God speaks in the silence of the mind. And this silence isn't absence, it's presence. It's God whispering truths that anxiety tries to stifle. Remember the story of Elijah I told earlier? After everything he went through, God said he would reveal himself, and then came a mighty wind that split mountains, but God wasn't in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. Then came fire, but God wasn't in the fire. And then a still, small voice. It was there, in the whisper, that God spoke to Elijah. Sometimes we expect God to shout louder than our anxiety, but he prefers to whisper deeper than it. How can you find peace in God's presence when your mind won't stop. It's not by fighting against thoughts, it's by learning to listen beyond them. It's by recognizing that beneath all that mental turmoil, there is a calm voice that says, "You are mine, you are safe, I have not abandoned you." This voice doesn't force its way in, it waits. It waits for you to stop running, stop fighting, stop trying to solve everything alone. And when you finally quiet down, even if only for a second, it's there. Spiritual comfort for those who suffer doesn't come from immediate answers to all questions. It comes from the certainty that you are not alone in your questions. God is not bothered by your doubts. He is not offended by your fear. What He wants is your presence. And sometimes the greatest proof of trust in God during times of affliction is simply being quiet enough to feel that He is there with you, not solving everything immediately, but holding you up as you go through it. So maybe today, instead of running from the silence, you could try sitting in it for a few minutes. Close your eyes, breathe, and whisper, "God, I know you are here. Speak to me." Don't expect complex answers, just feel. Because sometimes God's answer isn't an explanation, it's a presence. Because what you desperately seek in the noise may be waiting patiently in the silence. There is a cure that doesn't show up in medical tests, but it is absolutely real. I'm not saying you should ignore professional treatment, therapy, medication when necessary. All of that is important and a gift from God as well. But there's a dimension of healing that goes beyond what science can measure. It's the spiritual healing of anxiety. It's when something inside you changes, even if nothing outside has changed yet. It's when you feel a peace you can't explain, a strength that isn't yours, a hope that doesn't make logical sense, but it's real. Jesus had a peculiar way of healing. He touched the untouchable. He spoke to the invisible. He saw those whom everyone ignored. And His touch wasn't just physical. It was spiritual, emotional, transformative. There was a woman who had suffered for 12 years with an illness. She spent all she had on doctors, but no one could cure her. Then she heard about Jesus and thought, "If I only touch His clothes, I will be healed." And in the middle of the crowd, she touched Him, and immediately she was healed. Jesus felt the power that had gone out from Him and asked, "Who touched me?" That woman, trembling, revealed herself. And Jesus said something beautiful. "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace." Do you see what happened? She didn't wait to have perfect faith. She didn't wait to be strong. She arrived broken, desperate, with the little faith she had. And that was enough, because God transforms anxiety into strength, not when you are already strong, but when you recognize that you need His strength. It is in your weakest point that His power is perfected. It is when you say, "I can't," that He answers, "But I can." Spiritual healing doesn't mean you'll never feel anxiety again. It means you learn not to let it define you. It means that when it comes, you know where to turn. It means that faith and emotional health go hand in hand, one strengthening the other. You take care of your mind, your body, your emotional health, and at the same time nurture your connection with God. It's not one or the other, it's one with the other. And sometimes healing doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it comes in layers. Today, God heals one wound. Tomorrow, He touches another area. It's a process. But what matters is that He is working. Even when you don't feel it, even when it seems like nothing is changing, He is working. Because God's touch isn't noisy. It's silent, invisible, but completely transformative. And perhaps the greatest cure is not the absence of anxiety, but the constant presence of the one who holds you when it appears. There comes a time when something changes inside you. It's not that you stop feeling fear, it's that fear no longer has the last word. Before, anxiety dictated your decisions, controlled your nights, stole your peace. But now you've learned that there is something greater. Faith doesn't eliminate fear immediately, but it confronts it. And every time you choose to trust, even when afraid, faith grows and fear diminishes. That is inner peace amidst anxiety. Not the absence of struggle, but but the certainty of knowing who is fighting alongside you. Imagine Peter walking on the water. As long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, the impossible happened. He walked on top of what should have sunk him. But when he looked at the wind, the size of the waves, the impossibility of the situation, he began to sink. Jesus caught him and said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" But notice something beautiful? Even when Peter doubted, Jesus was there to hold him. Your faith doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be directed toward the right person. How can you feel God's love in difficult times? By looking back and seeing how many times He has held you. How many times you thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. How many times you thought it was the end, but it wasn't. How many dark nights you went through, and the sun rose again. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. It was God. It was Him carrying you when you didn't have the strength to walk. It was Him sustaining you when you thought you were going to collapse. Learning to rest in God is this. It's understanding that you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be in control of everything. What you need is to trust that the one who has everything under control loves you, knows you, and is taking care of every detail that keeps you awake at night. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Sometimes the greatest demonstration of faith is to stop trying to be God in your own life and let Him be. And when faith replaces fear, you don't become impervious to difficulties. You become unshakable in them. Because you know that no matter how big the storm, you know the owner of the winds. No matter how deep the valley, you walk with the shepherd. No matter how dark the night, you carry the light within you. Because faith is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to trust despite it. I need you to understand something with all your heart. God cares for your anxious heart. He doesn't judge you for feeling anxious. He's not disappointed that you're still struggling. He doesn't love you any less on the days when anxiety wins. On the contrary, it's on those days that He draws even closer. Do you know why? Because God isn't attracted to your perfection. He's attracted to your honesty. He prefers your genuine vulnerability to your feigned strength. Isaiah 40:11 paints a beautiful picture. He tends His flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in His arms and carries them close to His heart. He gently leads those that have young. Do you see the tenderness? God is not an impatient leader who gets angry when you stumble. He is the shepherd who picks you up when you can no longer walk. He is the father who guides you gently, respecting your pace, caring for your wounds. Hope in God is not a blind hope that ignores reality. It is a hope grounded in who He is. He promised you in Joshua 1:9, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." He didn't say, "If you are strong enough," or "if you don't feel fear." He said, "Be strong, because I am with you." Strength doesn't come from you. It comes from His presence. And on the days when you feel weakest, God strengthens you in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9 is a powerful promise. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." This means that God isn't waiting for you to become strong to use you. He uses your weakness to show His power. He transforms your weakest point into the stage where His glory shines brightest. So take a deep breath now. You are not alone. You never have been. Even when you felt that God was distant, He was there, waiting for you to stop trying to solve everything alone and allow Him to embrace you. Today, right now, in this moment, let this truth sink deep into your heart. God knows you completely, sees each of your struggles, and yet, or precisely because of that, He loves you unconditionally. Because the heart that God loves to care for the most is precisely the one that needs care the most. So here we are, at the end of this journey, but also at the beginning of a new one. Look back for a moment. Remember where you started. The screaming silence, the weight that seemed impossible to bear, the feeling of being alone in the struggle. And now, look where you are. You've discovered that your anxiety isn't weakness. it's where God meets you. You've learned that surrendering isn't giving up, it's trusting. You've experienced that prayer can become a breath of fresh air, that silence can bring peace, that faith can replace fear. But here is the final revelation I promised at the beginning. Where there was once anxiety, now there is a testimony. Because this whole process of pain, of struggle, of sleepless nights, of difficult days, it was not in vain. It was God preparing you for something greater. It was Him molding in you a faith that is not easily shaken, a compassion that understands the pain of others, a strength that is born only from total dependence on Him. Your anxiety was not a sentence. It was an invitation for you to know God in a way that is only possible when you desperately need Him. Romans 8:28 promises something extraordinary. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This includes your anxiety. It includes your sleepless nights. It includes your fears, your tears, your moments of weakness. God is using all of this, absolutely everything, to transform you into the person He always dreamed you would be. A person who deeply knows God's presence amidst fear. A person who knows that faith that overcomes anxiety is real because you have lived it. And now you no longer walk alone. You have learned to walk with God. And every time anxiety tries to return, and it will try, you have tools. You have prayer. You have the Word. You have the memory of the times God sustained you. You have the certainty that He has never abandoned you and never will. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. This verse isn't about you being superhuman. It's about you recognizing that on your own you have limits, but in Christ you have everything you need. Strength doesn't come from you. Peace isn't manufactured by you. Healing doesn't depend solely on you. It comes from Him, through you, for you, and that changes everything. So let me ask you one last question, the one that truly matters. Are you going to keep trying to carry everything alone, or are you going to allow God to fully enter your anxiety? Because He is waiting, not with judgment, but with open arms, not with demands, but with grace, not with disappointment, but with unconditional love that meets you exactly where you are and transforms you into what you can become. Perhaps the place where your fear resides is precisely where God wants to heal you. Perhaps your greatest weakness is the gateway to the greatest miracle He wants to perform in you. Perhaps your anxiety was never about you being weak, but about God wanting to show you that He is strong enough for both of you. So take a deep breath, one more time, and feel where before there was only anxiety, now something new is growing. Peace, hope, faith, and the certainty that you never have to face anything alone again because God is with you. Always has been, always will be. If this message touched your heart today, I want to invite you to do something. In the comments below, write one word, just one word, that represents what you need most from God right now. It could be peace, healing, strength, hope, or any other word that's in your heart. Let's create a chain of prayer in the comments where each of us commits to praying for each other's needs. You are not alone on this journey. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bell. Every week there's a new message to strengthen your faith, to remind you of who God is, and to help you walk with more peace and purpose. Share this video with someone you know who is struggling with anxiety. It might be exactly the message that person needs to hear today. Remember, dealing with anxiety with faith isn't about having perfect faith. It's about having a perfect God. Your anxiety isn't weakness. It's where God meets you. It's where inner peace amidst anxiety becomes real. It's where you learn that God cares for your anxious heart in a way that no one else can. When you feel that tightness in your chest again, when the racing thoughts return, when worry tries to overwhelm you, remember this message. Remember that surrendering your anxiety to God is not weakness, it's wisdom. Remember that prayer to alleviate anxiety doesn't need to be eloquent, it just needs to be honest. And remember that God's presence amidst fear is more real than fear itself. I'll leave you with one last verse, and I want you to let these words resonate in your heart. Casting all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. He cares for you, not just when you're strong, not just when you're doing well. He cares for you now, exactly as you are. With all your anxiety, with all your fears, with all your imperfection, he sees you, he knows you, and he loves you. May God calm your anxious heart today. May you feel his presence in a real and transformative way. May the faith that overcomes anxiety become your daily reality. And where there was only fear before, may a peace that surpasses all understanding now flourish. May God's peace be with you. We'll see each other in the next video. A big hug, and remember, you are not alone. God is with you always.